All right, so let's begin. Bismillah. All right, assalamu alaikum. So, brothers and sisters, everyone, thank you for joining us to our weekly meeting. And today we have our panelists joining us as usual, Konujam and Hikmet. And salam to all of you. I'll be joining today, just a little kind of from a different location to my hometown, Izmir, Turkey. All right. So, and as we've been doing like for the past 3 or 4 weeks, we've started 10th word, and then we're talking about afterlife, fact or fallacy, and we're reading 10th word from Words Risale Nur, and this version of the translation is by Konlaja. And so far we have discussed, I'm not going to go all the way to up, but just of course, I mean, the main question, the main theme is just, of course, we're talking about the question of course, I mean, just the afterlife, right? We're asking the question, so if there's an afterlife, and stuff, Rizalman Said is doing his work, and as always, he's giving us great foundation and all the evidence that we need and that we all just, of course, would like to hear. And so far, look at the last eighth indication, and seventh indication, and eighth indication. So we can you just scroll down a little bit, and we're talking about now just the overall seventh indication. We talked about the recording, and we have given several close, like it's been related examples from our today's, like it's been day and age. We talked about the photography and everything. So preserved tablet is the one that we just resembled it. And the eighth indication we talked about, and so I think this one was about, oh yeah, so about the promise. So about the promise is like, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He just gives a promise, so of course, I mean, just He keeps it. And of course, therefore, of course, I mean, there is a Supreme Court and sublime, like, of course, felicity. And again, so like as we're coming back to the conclusion of, yes, inshallah, there is an afterlife. And of all just like, we are struggling here, yes, definitely. We see a lot of course, I mean, just now maybe unjust like happening, but of course, I mean, just we all believe wholeheartedly that yes, everything is will be just like taken care of, inshallah, in hereafter. So now it's like it's been the whole just the discussion that we have been like it's been having. So without looking further ado, let's just continue, and inshallah, we're gonna like remember all these like great examples, inshallah, from last week. And again, like this, we're gonna do our best to give like it's been maybe better examples and whatnot. All right, let's continue, inshallah. And again, like one more time. So let's just begin. So the ninth indication. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All right, so ninth indication. So Sayyidina Nursi goes like this. Come now, look at the heads of these offices and different groups. And there's a dig note, number 7. By heads of these offices and different groups, Nursi means the prophets and the saints. The private telephone is an allusion to the link that the prophet or saint has with God. Situated in the heart, this link acts as a mirror in which revelation or inspiration is reflected. The heart is, Nursi says, like the telephone receiver. All right, so come now look at the heads of these offices and different groups. Each has a private telephone that connects it personally to the king. And sometimes they enter his presence in person, see what they unanimously say, and report, namely, that the monarch has prepared an awesome and most magnificent place of reward and punishment. His promises are emphatic, and his threats are severe. His pride and dignity are such that he would never lower himself to the breaking of promises. Those who attest to this report are so numerous that they form a consensus. They say the seat of the sublime monarchy, some of the traces of which can be seen here, is situated in a place very far from here. The buildings which exist in this arena of examination are temporary in nature, and will later be exchanged for palaces that will last forever. These places here will change. For this magnificent, deathless monarchy, the splendor of which is clear from its works, can in no way be based on temporary, unstable, and imperfect foundations. Rather, it is founded on cornerstones that are solid, unmovable, and everlasting, and totally in accord with its nature. There is then another realm after this one, and we are most certainly destined to go there. All right, so this was about the eighth indication. And again, so we're going back to like some definitely the same conclusion in the Stadtmedizinmann just gives us again the same. But of course, I'm just again like it's been like we talked last week. So there's always like it's been he is using parables and like an all analogy and giving us like a different type of examples. Maybe sometimes like the examples that are so obvious but sometimes maybe just it's not that easy to see them and but then our job is to connect it, so this connection and link maybe is the one that we need maybe just a little bit of kind of help. So now just let's go back to our panelists and inshallah just so and then we can just hear what they're thinking about and what their thoughts are and maybe just help us to like find these connections and maybe keywords that are necessary for our understanding and inshallah just to maybe just enlarge like it's been our envision and just like our understanding a little better, inshallah. And who'd like to go first this week? Hikmat Hocam or Kul Hocam?
Queen movie, please.
Please. Okay, so Kul Hocam. So it's your turn then.
Okay, I don't mind this week.
Certainly. Yes,
Bismillah.
sir.
I
Mhm.
think last week I need to clear up something last week because
Mhm.
a very dear friend of mine um,
Certainly. Yes, sir.
got in touch with me and said
Mhm.
that things were said which may be a little bit confusing.
Mhm.
When it comes to Wa'ad and Wa'id,
Mhm.
of course, Allah will never break His promise,
Yes.
never ever break His promise. As for threats, what I said, I think,
Mhm.
was that threats will be carried out. Now, they will be carried out if they're necessary, but a threat doesn't have to be carried out because the threat is an incentive to
Mhm.
someone not to do to bad, so not to
Mhm.
do bad things,
Right.
not to act negatively. So, and also there is also forgiveness as well.
Ah.
So that all, I mean, so really, and also actually, Ustad repeats
Mhm.
this here. He says his pride and dignity are such that he would never lower himself to the breaking of promises. So
Mhm.
wa'ad is different from wa'id.
Mhm.
So threats don't have to be carried out, and if he doesn't carry them out, then it's
Mhm.
through his wisdom and it's through his rahmah.
Rahma.
Which is sort of what I meant, but it may have come across
Mhm.
differently.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we
I
understand, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Mhm.
mean, if it did, then I
Mhm.
apologize. But as for the section here,
Right. Mhm.
I think this is working on several levels. First
Mhm.
of all, we looked at the role of I think the commander in the
Mhm.
example, which of course was our Prophet,
Mhm.
Salam,
Mhm.
who was praying a very comprehensive prayer for eternity. And I think Ustad said that, you know, if, as we see, Allah
Mhm.
answers the prayers of the lowliest of creatures,
Right.
right? The ants and the flies and the bees and all
Mhm.
of these creatures, their du'as, their
Mhm.
invocations are heard and they are
Mhm.
answered. And of course, if Allah is answering the needs of the lowliest creatures, then of course His most
Mhm.
beloved creation, our Prophet, والسلام, will be answered. His du'as will be answered. And here he's talking now about these different groups, the
Mhm.
prophets and the saints, and
Mhm.
the the purified scholars, and everyone who is spoken to by Allah and responds
Mhm.
is receiving the same message basically. So there is a unanimous agreement
Mhm.
among saints and prophets and purified scholars, you know, muhaqqaqeen, those who are experts in their field, and
Mhm.
believers as well, um, that there is a hereafter. It's in accordance with our desires and our needs, our emotions, our subtle faculties.
Hmm.
And there are people who have reached very high levels of spirituality and introspection, intuition, and understand these things as though they're seeing them. And
Hmm.
there's no reason for us to doubt these people because, they form a consensus, they form a very strong chain
Hmm.
of, it may not be scientific evidence, but then scientific evidence is always tentative anyway.
Right.
They give us a chain of very strong indications,
Hmm.
which are borne out actually by their integrity, by their truthfulness, and by their reputation.
Yeah.
So again, it's a kind of argument from authority.
Hmm.
And arguments from authority don't always work because sometimes the authority is not good. But the
Hmm.
authority here, we're talking about awliya asfiya,
Hmm.
and purified scholars and believers who receive inspiration from Allah.
Yeah.
These telephones are basically the inspiration that we all receive.
Yeah.
Everything that we receive actually is inspiration.
Hmm.
We just maybe not we don't recognize it as such, but
Hmm.
every thought that we have comes from
Hmm.
somewhere.
Somewhere.
So I think this is just sort of, it's like complementing what Ustad said about the Prophet,
Hmm.
Sallallahu Salam, and
Hmm.
he's now broadening it. So all of these scholars, all of these saints, all of these blessed individuals are saying the same thing basically.
Yeah. 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 Perfect. Yeah, just well, just that's my question. Yeah, asked and question answered. Yeah, thank you so much for like seeing these, because even like this when I was reading it, so just I never thought about like in that detail. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, just about that inspiration and how they are coming in. Sometimes I mean, maybe consciously or subconsciously, like this, sometimes we don't even think about it or maybe just recognize it. But it is exactly like you just said, it is there and just putting everything together. Yeah, just and prof, of course, I'm just using the prophets and the saints and all these like the scholars, and alhamdulillah, so like it goes like to one direction. And yes, definitely. And finally, and again, like the message and everything is gonna go directly to the same place. And all right, so let's go to our next panelist, Ibn Rajab. So I'm kind of curious, like what you're gonna say to this.
Yes, this is pulling out explain in detail. I just
Mhm.
wanted to add a couple of sentences then, inshallah.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, that is in nine aspect or the indication that what we learn or what we are discussing is now that all
Mhm.
these we were discussing about the heads of Jamaat and different groups and asfiyas, and all of them are just came from different timing, and then right now maybe that there are some still that number of scholars that they are telling us as well. The study is one of them. So
Mhm.
clearly that they are all unanimously just
Mhm.
have a consensus that there is some other place that hereafter, and then there's going to be like
Mhm.
if there is some kind of promise that it'll be kept,
Mhm.
and then if there is some kind of threat, it is going to be there as well. If Kulinawi was saying that the threats can sometimes that can be smoothly or that I don't know that how to explain, but there is a Levhi Mahfuz, and then there is also Imam Mubin, Tabi Mubin we were discussing, but I just don't want to go into that detail. So
Mhm.
and we know that there's some kind of sadaqah and donation that can help for the threats as well. That if we
Mhm.
do some not good deeds, or just sometimes we make mistakes and
Mhm.
we will be forgetting things. That's why that we are always making dua. If we forget things, that please just don't punish us. That's what we are making a dua. So
Right.
heart is important part really,
Uh-huh.
and the heart is in human. It every single person individual has some kind of private phone, and they can feel it. They
Mhm.
can just if they listen to it, and they will feel it for sure.
Mhm.
Sometimes though we need to be really careful what the phone is saying or what we are getting. And if you remember that if you do good really bad things, that your heart or vijdan, yeah, right, is going
Yeah.
to sometimes that is going to tell you, hey, Hikmet, what you did, it was wrong. Is
Yeah.
there a way that you need that is something also that I feel like this is just Wijdan. It's not completely heart, but it is part
Right.
of the heart that is telling us that what we need to do or how we are going to react or act to
Hmm.
what we did. And that private phone is just telling us from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to all the prophets and all the scholars, and the Quli Nabi saying purified scholars, and then that we are listening, and all of them are the same, telling the same thing, although that they came from different timing. They are
Hmm.
have a unanimity of the consensus, so that it is clear that there is something that hereafter as well. This is also that the ninth aspect is just telling me, at least in my understanding, that the different scholars, different heads of the prophets and provide scholars is telling us the same thing, and we can feel it with the heart. And as we feel that during the day or month and um, whenever that we listen to our heart as well. This is all
Yeah.
I can add right now.
No, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, just definitely, definitely. Thank you so much. And it is, yeah, that just now also like it became a little kind of just nice so summary. Konija, yeah, I just saw your yeah, just your hand is raised. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
Hikmat speaks very concisely and very
Yeah,
richly, and
yeah, isn't
his I
definitely.
mean, the
Mhm.
telephone is used here in the in the text, but you know the way he was explaining, listening to your
Yeah.
heart, because we do get telephone calls all the time, and
Yes,
also
sir. Yeah.
we get a lot of scam calls as well, and
Indeed,
junk like
indeed. Yeah.
junk mail and junk calls
Yes, sir.
from you know from Shaitan.
Yeah.
So, you know, the telephone is a really great
Uh-huh.
metaphor, I think,
Uh-huh.
that Ustad uses. And it is listening to your heart because
Right.
this is what the heart is the seat of all of these things, really.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the mind, you know, as Freud
Mhm.
said. Freud killed off the soul and
Mhm.
placed the mind in its place, what he called the psyche. But the
Mhm.
psyche
Mhm.
actually in Greek means soul.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
You know, he's using the word soul, but he's meaning mind.
Yeah,
But thoughts come to our heart,
yeah.
which is the seat of our emotions and the seat of our emotional intelligence as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
But we have to sift them, you know, we have to be careful
of
that we
course.
don't get scammed. And
Mhm.
that's on us if we
Mhm.
do, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what? Maybe just to add, like, you know, what you just said, like, and it just came to my mind is just this these topic of gatherings, right? So just like getting together and reading together and reminding to reminding each other is somehow like maybe just help us to like filter those scam calls, doesn't it? I mean, just a little bit.
I
Yeah,
think you're right. I think
yeah,
also Risale as well. If you're
yeah,
grounded in the Risale,
yeah,
it's a great
absolutely.
filter.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Quran is the filter, of course, the main
filter.
filter. It's the
Yes, sir.
Furqan. It's the
Yeah,
criterion. But there are
right.
lots and lots of filters. You know,
Uh-huh.
scholars, their
Hmm.
works,
Hmm.
Risale,
Yeah.
these meetings, you know,
Mhm.
discussions, the
Yeah.
words of wise brothers. These are
Uh,
all good filters for us and
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
necessary.
Necessary. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect. Anyone else? I mean, did I miss any raising hands or anyone would like to make any comment? Just let me know, please. Feel free to chime in. If not, maybe, well, everything is still maybe just kind of fresh. I'd like to then continue then to 10th indication. But please just feel free to like definitely raise your hand or any time like would like to share your opinions and your thoughts. Feel free. All right, 10th indication. So Ustad Nursi continues to add like just one more indication, and here it goes. Today is the first day of spring, and another footnote, number 8. The 10th indication is an allusion to the ninth truth. The vernal equinox, which takes place on March 21st each year, is technically the beginning of spring. As for the green plane, thus is a metaphor for the whole of the earth in springtime. The fast-changing scenes and spectacles are allusions to the different groups of springtime beings, sorry. The various classes of creatures which appear in summer and the sustenance that becomes available for both humans and animals, all of which are produced from the beginning of spring to the end of summer, by the all-powerful and glorious Maker. And this all-wise and most beautiful Creator brings forth all of these bounties in orderly succession, renewing them all with the utmost compassion and dispatching them all without any interruption. All right, so today is the first day of spring, as it is explained in the footnotes of the springtime and everything coming together. Come and look, because certain changes will take place and amazing things are about to happen. Let us go for a walk across the green plain, studded as it is with beautiful flowers. Others too are taking advantage of the fine weather on this beautiful spring day. If you look carefully, you'll see that there is surely some magic at work, for buildings which were utter ruins have suddenly sprung up again, and this once empty plain has now become a city filled with life. Look, see how everything changes from hour to hour, like the images on a movie screen. See how everything takes on a different shape, a different form. Yet, although these very fast-moving and highly complex scenes are constantly changing, one sees in them a perfect order, with everything occupying its proper place. Those fictional scenes presented to us on the cinema screen are not as well ordered as these real ones. And even if a million skilled magicians were to join forces, they would be incapable of producing such artistry. We may conclude then that the monarch hidden from our view is able to perform miracles even greater than this one. And it is foolish to ask, how can a kingdom as vast as this be destroyed and reconstructed somewhere else? Numerous changes and revolutions take place all the time, every hour of the day, and this transition that your mind cannot accept, the transition from this realm to the next, is one such example. The world is a vast network of interrelated comings and goings, of things joining together and separating, and from this ceaseless motion and these continuous transformations, it may be deduced that a clear overarching purpose is involved. To spend 10 years of effort in order for two things to come together for no longer than an hour or two would be painfully ridiculous. And so it is clear that the occurrences we witness here are not ends in themselves. They are simply means. They are indications of truths which exist elsewhere. They are simply reflections or imitations of that truth. They are brought about in miraculous fashion by that sublime being, and their effects are recorded and preserved perfectly, in the same way that every detail of an army's battleground maneuvers is written down and recorded for future reference. This implies that what happens at that great gathering in the future will be based on what happens here. Furthermore, the end results of all that occurs here will be on permanent display in some vast supreme gallery. All of the things here which we experience as fleeting and temporary will appear before our eyes in an eternal, unchanging form. All of the changes and fluctuations that take place in this world, then, are ultimately for the sake of that supreme tribunal, and all of that which follows on from it, be it eternal happiness or other states, as yet not known to us. Again, what a beautiful explanation, what a beautiful examples, and how it is written into our logic and everything. So just, one by one. And it is like, and again, just like in a woven, like it's been just perfectly and clearly, and without even just, taking your just maybe just thinking away. But then great example, just given at especially starting from top, like it's from the spring and all the way down, like just to the other, like, and of course, with just examples and one by one. Now, we don't have to maybe just like talk about every single thing in just one go. Maybe we can just break it down into kind of like in forms and choose to explain the first and the second part. And yeah, without like just me like in given examples, but just hikmet hocam or like in a konuşacağım probably hikmet hocam or like konuşacağım like if you couldn't go like just first and talk about the first part, and then like maybe we can come back again just for the second or like in the comments and everything. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, clearly, Ustad is a master of metaphor,
Yeah.
and the spring is an amazing metaphor, really.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I I don't usually notice it because it creeps up very slowly, and suddenly you
Yeah.
realize it's there. But
Yeah.
this year I was away from my
Hmm.
hometown in April, and when I left, I remember there weren't many leaves on the trees,
Hmm.
and I was away for a month and a week, and when I came back, everything was changed, like
Hmm.
overnight. And I realized, I mean, this happens every year, year in, year out, and it doesn't happen for its own sake. It would be meaningless. We talk about repetition, and we say when Ustad talks about repetition in the Quran is necessary.
Hmm.
Actually, he says there is no exact repetition.
Hmm.
Everything that comes back in spring is slightly different to how it was before because,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
plants are aging, things are happening,
Right.
transformations, revolutions are happening. So we're constantly being reminded of resurrection, not just through spring, which is
Hmm.
like a vast resurrection, but, alternation of day and night constantly. We go to bed, we wake up. That's like
Hmm.
a death. It's like a minor death.
Hmm.
We lie down in a dark room covered by a sheet. Our body goes into a kind of state of semi-hibernation and we wake up again. Why is
Hmm.
Allah telling us all of these things
Hmm.
if they're not for some purpose to show us something? They're not for their own sake, right? Why
Oh,
it doesn't make sense for them to have. They're obviously pointing to something.
right.
The clouds that are dispersing and then they come together and rain falls and then they
Hmm.
disperse and then they come together again.
Hmm.
These examples of resurrection are just everywhere. Um, uh, I mean, obviously, you don't see it until you're reminded of it.
Right.
And, as a believer,
Hmm.
Allah says, well, look at the creation and you'll see all of my signs in the creation. And it's not just signs of his unity and his existence, it's
Hmm.
also signs of the resurrection. A third
Yeah.
of the Quran, maybe more, is about the resurrection. And if you look out there, at the growth of a tree, it is all about resurrection. The
Hmm.
seed is in the soil, the seed
Hmm.
casing dies, the tree blossoms, it
Hmm.
gives fruit. Then in
Hmm.
winter again, it goes into hibernation, and then this cycle just goes on and on and on and on. And it's telling us something. Uh,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
it's just telling us something. I mean, I just can't get away from the fact that there are so many examples of mini resurrection in the universe, all pointing to a major, a grand
Mhm.
resurrection
Absolutely.
at the end of
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Hikmet Hocam, what would you like to add to this?
I'll give you guys a different example, inshallah, if I can
Please.
explain well.
Please.
If not, yeah, just help me out. And instead of just start also already explained clearly that about the springs,
Yeah.
and I will talk about this some spirit of mood of a human.
Hmm.
Every single word that when we hear something that our mood and we are going to be completely different, and we are
Hmm.
going to change. Like one
Hmm.
single word makes us completely cry
Hmm.
hours and hours. One single word is going to make us so happy that we cannot stop in one place. So
Hmm.
our mood and our spirit, mind, and heart is completely that changing as well.
Yeah.
And here's
Absolutely.
the example I'm going to give you. that all these changes and fluctuations in human, because
Mm-hmm.
Ustad already gave the spring example, and Kolinag also explained great. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these changes, for instance, if we miss somebody, let's say we miss our brothers or sisters, when we see them, and
Mm-hmm.
or if we think about that we are going to see them, or seeing any of the relatives is going to make us happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I studies is explaining as well that 99% of all relatives and brothers and sisters in different alam, then
Mm-hmm.
he feeling and missing them, that or going there or seeing them is
Mm-hmm.
going to make us happy. So resurrection and seeing them, that type of feeling is going to change our mood and makes us really happy as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that every single time, day and night, or hours, or even minutes, that are changing, that the spirit and mind and everything is gonna make us completely different person, or change that the fluctuations or in our mind and heart.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about that, okay, we are gonna eventually, that gathering with them after resurrection or hereafter is
Mm-hmm.
going to change our mood, spirit, and mind and heart as well. This is
Mm-hmm.
also telling us that I was just trying to connect. I don't know if I explained it really
Mm-hmm.
well, but
Oh,
this
no,
is also
no.
telling us that right after, hereafter, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get together. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be together again,
Mm-hmm.
inshallah. And we
Inshallah.
can see that, inshallah, that prophets and all the prophets, Prophet Muhammad
Mm-hmm.
sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ustad, and all Abis, right?
Yeah.
Here and there, makes us like a spiritually or mindly or heartly just changing as well. This is
Yeah.
another
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I connected really well, but I was thinking that human as well, that
Mm-hmm.
um, our changes in seeing that brothers and sisters here is going to make us really happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that if we see that the brothers and sisters or mother and father right after that,
Mm-hmm.
hereafter, is going to
Mm-hmm.
make us happy as well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if I explained it really well, but
No, I think
it's
you did. Yeah, thank you, thank you. No,
okay.
that's a great example. Yeah, different example, but yeah, just it just connects the dot. Yeah, connect the dots. I see, like, yeah, just one hand raised, Kadir Jam, I guess. Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead, please. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It
Mm-hmm.
also comes to my mind that spring is the season that most of the people are really happy and they are energetic when they look at
Mm-hmm.
their lives.
Yeah.
We also renew our body. So,
Uh-huh.
uh, as far as I remember in Quran, Allah says us to that, like, try to look at your around how Allah created all these things. And
Mm-hmm.
spring is one of the great time that people feel that feeling innerly. So
Mm-hmm.
our bodies change and our feelings are changing. People are trying to show themselves or trying to see themselves in the nature.
Mm-hmm.
And if we see these the art of Allah, and when we look at around,
Mm-hmm.
and we can also affect, we are also affected by all these things. And spring is the, as here Ustad mentions, is the
Mm-hmm.
great time
Mm-hmm.
for also renewing ourselves, like resurrection. And we
Mm-hmm.
also focus on our body and we understand better, especially at this time.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. That's great comment. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, just almost kind of like it's been kind of cliche, kind of like a saying that just the only thing that does not change in life is changes itself, I guess. So, but I am also curious, like, maybe, yeah, just another hands. Yeah, just I don't think so. Yeah, maybe just yeah, Kolnajan, were you gonna say something, or did I?
Yeah, I was just
Oh
saying
yeah,
that was a great
oh,
example that
okay,
Kader gave,
yeah,
brother Kader gave.
uh-huh,
There is something about the spring, especially
yes,
in places which have spring, right?
yeah,
In the northern hemisphere, basically.
mm-hmm,
After winter, winter is very sluggish. The
mm-hmm,
weather is usually cold. It's dark.
yeah.
And this also maps onto the ninth word beautifully as well, where
Mm-hmm.
Ustad
Mm-hmm.
talks about the 5 times of
Five
the
times.
prayer and the reasons
Mm-hmm.
behind them, why those times are like revolutions. Spring
Mm-hmm.
is such a revolution. And I
Yeah.
mean, now the month of May, I've just realized, now that the brother was talking, May is my favorite month of the year. because it's a transitional period. All of the leaves are out. There's a promise of like fruit. There's a promise of fullness. It's not too hot yet. Um, it's just an amazing time, and it does change. Allah is mughallib al-qulub. Mughallib al-qulub. He changes the hearts, and
Yeah.
there are revolutions which
Mhm.
happen, and we respond to them. So that was a really good example.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I was kind of thinking. Yeah, just perfect. And maybe just one more brother. Like, how about I see like has been a brother biker. I think maybe just he would like to add something. Just biker hocam, are you there?
I'm just listening for now. I don't have anything to say. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I just wanted to like go a little kind of just different. Yeah, just go call out like some brothers. But yeah. Anyhow. All right, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, those are kind of great examples, and about like some of the spring and just the springtime, just how like as people just as like as a human beings, like we're all just like kind of relating, and the transformation, like just all over the changes and the revolutions, like the subject over like has been talked about the emotion and how everything like passing through like has been and resembling them to some movie screen or like a cinema screen and like how beautiful and exactly like when when he mentioned about the favorite like the month of like some that when you look at the trees and everything and sometimes it amazes me like is that seeing that it's just like in a dead wood like and especially in this in the winter time and then it's so amazing when you start like seeing that the blooming like and everything just the flower itself like the leaves and everything coming out of the dead wood it's a perfect kind of, I guess, like the connection that we have to, I guess, like it's now like the form and to see that, oh yeah, you see, like it's now right in front of us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's creating and recreating, and again. And as maybe like an Ikmanujan, like I mentioned, like emotionally or just, physically. So just it's right there, like we're changing. That transformation is like happening right before our eyes. And it is happening. And inshallah, in the hereafter, yeah, it's going to happen again and it's not only just that he's also like making sure like that now that I saw it, it doesn't happen only just like that to us, and it happens to all just the kingdoms like just that we have like the animal kingdom, the plant like this and everything. So just everything keeps changing and changing, and new, of course, I mean just new ones like gonna come coming in, and right before our eyes. All right. I think like yeah, just that was a really nice yeah comments and everything for the 10th indication. So I think like we still have time, so maybe we can continue and reading 11th indication, and maybe we can just start talk about it as well. 11th indication. So one more, and then let's see just what Ustad is gonna talk to us now. Let us put obstinacy aside and take a trip both into the past and on into the future. Let us see the miracles, miraculous works that this being has accomplished elsewhere. Wherever we look, there are marvels of artistry, just like the dwellings, the open spaces, and the exhibition halls that we witness, although they all differ in style and form. Although they are all transient, they are enough to show the absolute wisdom, justice, and compassion of their Maker. Such attributes of His are abundantly clear from the magnificent way in which these things are ordered and presented. In fact, they show that no wisdom can be imagined more perfect than His, and no generosity more bountiful. Similarly, it is evident to all except those who are totally devoid of insight that there is no compassion more all-embracing than His, and no justice more glorious. Imagine for a second that there were no place in which the truths of His wisdom, compassion, mercy, and justice could be displayed fully. In other words, imagine that there were no permanent dwelling places at all, no sublime everlasting palaces, no wondrous eternal places of rest and relaxation in which his contented subjects could reside. Imagine this if you can. Do you not see that in the absence of everlastingness, the wisdom that we see here would no longer be wisdom? Do you not see that in the absence of an do you not see that in the absence of an eternal exhibition whole, in which all of the Maker's attributes could be viewed and enjoyed forever, the mercy and compassion that we see here would no longer be mercy and compassion? This present impermanent kingdom is neither big enough nor lasting enough for all the king's attributes to be experienced. In the absence of a permanent realm, however, all of those attributes would have to be denied. We would be obliged to deny the wisdom we see, the compassion we observe, the mercy that is in front of our eyes, and the signs of justice that are all around us. It would be idiotic. It would be like denying the existence of the midday sun in a clear blue sky. Furthermore, we would also have to reject as a liar or tyrant the very one from whom all of this wisdom, generosity, and compassion emerge. This would be like turning truth on its head, and turning truth into its opposite is impossible, as anyone endowed with reason would agree, apart, of course, from the idiotic sophists who deny the existence of everything. Therefore, one must conclude that a realm exists apart from this present realm, and one must conclude that in that realm there will be a supreme tribunal, an exalted house of justice and reward, and a place where all of this compassion, wisdom, mercy, and justice will be made fully manifest. And again, how wonderfully, again, just like to like this presented right to our like with logic, and one by one we're experiencing, and just I mean in a way that I'm looking at it like seriously, just so we are experiencing this life, and just so we are seeing just everything happening around us, and we have been like given all these like bounties and just beautiful kind of like faculties, and just all these like feelings and just intelligence and this and that. So and we are looking to have experiencing this, right? Like it's been, but then at the same time, it's just like the start looking has been shows like right in front of us, and that we are not like seeing everything to the full, to the like, and then of course when again like we're saying yes, we are experiencing it, and then it just clearly then like a boom, like and he just says, yeah, yeah, you see, like now just this place is not like for that. So yes, definitely, or just all these like attributes and everything that to see fully, we were created for different kind of like in a place, different realm, so to speak. So, and let's talk about especially this part, and to understand maybe just if we can like just connect all these like some other the previous indications, and if you can like give us some examples. Let's just turn to our panelists if they can just like help us. Konlajan, what would you like to say, especially for 11th indication?
I've only got one example that I always use for this, actually.
Please.
I need to think of more. And
Yeah.
that is, I think we used it here or it was in another DAO somewhere else that,
Hmm.
I invite lots of homeless people into my house
Hmm.
and I sit them down and I say, I'm going to make you the best meal you've ever had because I know
Right.
how hungry you are. So
Uh-huh.
I get out all of the best ingredients and I start
Uh-huh.
preparing, and they're all sitting down there. Their mouths are watering and they're thinking to themselves, oh,
Right.
he's so kind. He's so
Yeah.
compassionate. He's going to cook for us.
Right.
He's got such artistic skill. He's such a good cook.
Right.
He's doing all of these things, and then the table is laid beautifully, and they say, "Oh, he has such artistic appreciation.
Uh-huh.
What a wonderful man! What a generous man! What a compassionate man!"
Right.
And then the food is ready, and the table is set, and then I say, "Okay, off you go.
Off you
Go out. You go.
go.
Just get out."
Yeah.
Then, okay, what happened to all of those attributes
Right.
of perfection that they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
attributing to me?
Yeah.
They were saying I was compassionate, and
Yeah.
they were saying I was this and this and this and this, and none of them were true
Yeah.
because in the end, I didn't deliver.
You
So,
didn't. Yes.
Allah delivers. He delivers
Hmm.
with wisdom. We see his
Hmm.
wisdom, we see his
Hmm.
justice, we see his beauty, we see his artistic
Perfect.
skill as a creator.
Yeah.
That must mean something. Either that is metaphorical and
Hmm.
unreal, or it's real.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you that it's real. We
Yeah.
all know
Yeah.
it's real, right?
We
We
all
all
know.
know
Yeah.
it's real.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
see purpose, we
Absolutely.
see justice in the created
Hmm.
world. Now,
Yeah.
for there to be just a brief
Hmm.
period of time and then everything ends, that
Hmm.
doesn't make sense. Why
Yeah.
do you give us these desires? The
Yeah.
desires we have are desires
Mhm.
for eternity, you know,
Eternity.
with the desires to be, we can never be filled and we can never be
Hmm.
satiated. We can never
Hmm.
be gratified
Yeah.
with this short life, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to be with my brothers here for
Yeah.
forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to hear their voices forever. I want to
Absolutely.
see their smiles forever, and not just for a short time.
That's
You
for
know,
sure.
my loved ones, those who have
Mm-hmm.
gone, I want to see them again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so this is quite clear.
Mm-hmm.
He says at the very beginning, let us put obstinacy aside. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing that stops us from seeing the truth, actually, is
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
intellectual inability, it's
Yeah.
obstinacy.
Obstinacy. Yes, sir.
It's nothing to do with the intellect. It's nothing to doing, oh, it's not rational, it doesn't make sense, all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. This is just an excuse. It
Mm-hmm.
is just the will doesn't want to take on board the accountability that comes with belief. That's
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
Tamam.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great example. Great example. Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah, just kullanacağım. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I loved it. Seriously. Before moving to Hikmet Hocam, so I see like Nazmin Kar Hocam like yeah, raised his hand. So let's just briefly just listen to him and then I'm gonna go back to Hikmet Hocam. Kadir Hocam, please. Can you uh, can you talk, Kadir Hocam?
Did you asking
Sorry,
me?
sorry. Yeah, I couldn't open the micro. Sorry.
Oh, I see. All
Yeah,
right.
I think
That's all right.
we need to be given the permission as far as I know.
Mhm. Oh, I see.
I just want to say two great expression in Risale-i Nur I cannot forget, and every Risale-i Nur student also needs to know,
Please.
as I believe, these two expressions.
Uh-huh.
Ustad says that Allah is the owner of the everything, and the owner has the right to do
Mhm.
everything. Maybe my translation is not 100%.
And yeah, we get it. We
Uh,
get it. Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Malik Mulk, right? Allah
Uh-huh.
has that
Yes, sir.
right to do
Yeah.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And another one is no one can show the more merciless or compassionate than Allah or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So these two expressions, when we talk to our environment, especially I
Mm-hmm.
am a teacher too, and when we talk to the students,
Mm-hmm.
because people, as Colin Ojam said, that people do not see the wisdom or the thing behind of that story. For example, now we have a Palestinian or other worse when you think the Muslim society, people cannot think the story or the wisdom behind of these things. And
Mm-hmm.
when we start this kind of sentences, people
Mm-hmm.
maybe are persuaded. And as, of course, we need to tie it to the hereafter because it's impossible to explain everything without believing the hereafter, because people, if they only think about this world, that conversation doesn't continue well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to explain the merciless, the compassionate of the Allah, how Allah is compassionate to his servants.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things are happening in our eyes, and some of them we understand, as here Ustad says, some of them we understand, but some when we do not understand, as Colin Ojam says, that we think that it is uh, not logical, but essentially it is logical because we do not understand. There is wisdom behind
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Yeah.
So when we combine, when we talk these things according to these criteria, people can understand it easily, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just a great, yeah, great examples again. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, just yeah, without just like losing any time, like I would like to now just invite Hikmet Hocam. So what would you like to say, like, just call Hocam's and Kadir Hocam's, like, his their points.
Nothing, just couple sentences I will just add. It's written
Yeah.
there. Nothing in this world right now is that the
Yeah.
art and form of the whole this species and us as
Mm-hmm.
well, and our feelings too, is not big or
Mm-hmm.
last longer. That
Yeah.
makes us really unhappy if you think about it. If I
Mm-hmm.
have like a sons and daughters are lost him or her, and or just when they grow, or after 60, 50 years, 70 years later, that we are going to die, or they are going to die. And then if we don't see that all these bounties and everything, there is going to be some permanent place that we will see each other, that makes us unhappy, and this world is really big burden to us then. And having that that belief that we will see each other hereafter, and it is going to be permanent, not going to be transient. Everything that look flowers is going to die in a week, a month, depending on what kind of flowers we are seeing, and then trees is going to die like 10 years later, or 2 years, or every winter that we will lose all of them, is going to make us really, really unhappy, because everything is going to be transient, right? So that we have endless desire for the permanent place and permanent happiness. And we were discussing a couple of months ago, remember, or 6 months ago, that we were talking about every single item here in this world is as a transient, is either that we are losing, or we're going to die, or they're going to die, or we are going to lose them. That makes us unhappy.
Yeah.
So having like a resurrection belief and thinking, and that all the forms and arts and is going to come, and there's going to be a permanent place, is going to give you eternal or internal happiness, and then just be thankful as well. So this is just
Yeah.
one example that I.
No, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, just great examples. Yeah, great examples, especially for just for the 11th indication. Just I really liked it. All you guys, like contribution. Right, we have like only 5 minutes, but I see maybe another brother. Just that I'm just maybe forgetting. Alojam, are you there? So maybe if you would like to say a couple things for us,
Yes, a little. Assalamu
please.
alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Yes, sir.
From the indication, by remembering the ninth word, as far as I understand, we can say that if the believer reads the present day, the day he lives, reading the present day takes the person to read the past and the future. Because, as stated in ninth word, the day we live, the present day, is sample of the whole times, from the beginning of the universe to doomsday. In one day, there are samples of them. That's why if a believer tries to read the present day, and if she sees the wisdoms of Allah and the meanings of events or creatures in one day, that person, by using also her imagination, the power of imagination, what happened in the past and what will happen in the future, similar today, but not completely the same. Every day, every event, every creature is unique, but in one aspect, they have similar meanings, similar messages relate to the manifestations of the names of Almighty Allah and relate to the hereafter. That's why I think from this indication, especially, I think firstly, it is said that read the present day and think what happened in the past, what will happen in the future. The window becomes larger. I want to share this, yes.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we get it, of course. Yeah, just thinking about the past and the future, yeah, that makes this like the world larger and larger. Yeah, just in every, of course, within every human being is like this the mind. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, great examples. Yeah, really enjoyed today's discussion, especially if like starting from the ninth, 10th, and 11th indications. Like these are great examples, and thanks a lot again. Like before, even like it's been ending the discussion, I'd like to thank again to our panelists, like Marajam, Kolmajam, and the other panel, of course, was just contributors, Karurajam and Adujam. You're great examples and helpful, like just the thoughts and opinions, like that really kind of matter for us. And I really enjoyed, I really benefited. And thank you so much. So since we caught Alojam here, so let's just invite him to recite some Quran and then make dua for us. And then inshallah, then conclude today's meeting, inshallah.
Yes. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا إنك جامع الناس ليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم لا تخرجنا من الدنيا إلا مع الشهادة والإيمان يا محول الحول والأحوال حول حالنا إلى أحسن الحال. ربنا لا تجعلنا مع القوم الظالمين. ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الظالمين. ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للذين كفروا واغفر لنا ربنا إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. ربنا آمنا بما أنزلت واتبعنا الرسول فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين. اللهم بحق سورة الإخلاص اجعلنا من عبادك المخلصين المخلصين آمين. لله تعالى الفاتحة.